War Thunder's groundbreaking dev server coming your way. We're doing a fast overview. Let's see what you've got coming in the next major patch. As a reminder, all information from the dev server is, in fact, still in progress of being finished. So there's a lot of things that are in here that may be still subject to change. For instance, I did notice that there were a lot of 80 kilometer per hour and 70 kilometer per hour numbers, even in vehicles that shouldn't necessarily be that exact number. So some of these numbers will be incorrect and will be fixed, I'm certain, by the time the server goes live. Also, the numbers I take, if they're on a premium, will be the final configuration. If they're on a tech tree vehicle, they'll be the stock configuration. So let's see what we got. All right, the U.S. is getting the A7E. It is a rank 7, battle rating 10.7 vehicle. Comes in at 1,114 kilometers per hour, top speed, stock, and turn time of 35.4 seconds. It does have a 20 millimeter M61 cannon with 57 millimeters of pin and 1,000 rounds, plus a 30 millimeter GPU gun pod. It can be installed with 102 millimeters of pin. It's got 250 pound to 2,000 pound bombs, an ATGM-62A walleye TV guided bombs, rockets, including Zunis and Mighty Mouse, and of course they got the 20 and 30 millimeter gun pods. It also has AIM-9Ds and AIM-9Es and Gs, all as possible ordnance options. This is got the new type of guided bomb on the vehicle here, but really this vehicle extends the U.S. air tree without really providing any new expanded capabilities. It's still a capable aircraft. Germany is getting a new MiG-21 SPSK at rank 6, battle rating 9.7. It's got a 2240 kilometer per hour max speed and a 36-second turn time. The ordnance options include a 23 millimeter cannon, which has 29 millimeters of penetration and 200 rounds of the gun, 250 kilogram to 500 kilogram bombs, the S-24 and S-5K rockets, and the R-3S rear aspect IR guided and the R-3R all aspect radar guided missiles. There's no new tech tree aircraft being introduced at the same time, so I'm not sure exactly what you're supposed to grind with this aircraft, but just keep that in mind. There could be more still coming. This is a typical Soviet fighter that's been added to the German tech tree, giving often Germany the best of both worlds there. It still gives them a great broad range of options that span east and west. China's getting the V-12D, a rank 2 battle rating 1.7 strike aircraft. It comes in with 2 heavy machine guns, 50 calibers, at 1,200 rounds, and 2 7.62 millimeter light machine gun turrets. It also has in its ordnance options 250 and 500 pound bombs. It's a unique aircraft in the tech tree for China, but overall, it's a fun U.S.-made aircraft that just barely passed the prototype level with just a few units made. I expect it to be fun. Sweden is getting the AJ-37 Vegan, a 10.7 BR rank 7 jet aircraft, jet fighter in fact. It comes in with a 1,825 kilometer per hour top speed, a 26.3 second turn time, and includes a 30 millimeter cannon with 300 rounds, 120 kilogram bombs, M70 47 kilogram rockets, and RB-05A 305 kilogram rockets. It also includes the RB-24 and RB-24J IR guided air-to-air missiles. It does also include some countermeasures in the form of flares and chaff. This has got no mixed loadouts, though, including AAMs and ground attack. So you're kind of stuck with this one. The AJ-37 brings nothing new that wasn't already fulfilled by the JA-37, and it lacks a mixed loadout of that type that really limits the utility of this aircraft. Heading over to do a little bit of ground and dirt sucking over here, we're going to jump on the new Weasels and the Ocelot that's coming to the German tree. The Wiesel 1A4 is a 7... The Wiesel 1A... Wiesel? The Wiesel 1A4 is a rank 5, battle rating 7.0 SPAA. It comes with a 20 millimeter RH202 autocannon with a 10.4 second reload time and 66 millimeters of penetration. It's cute, it's fast, it's tiny, but it's basically an R3T20, but it's 7.0 BR. It's a highly sought vehicle class, that doesn't really change the overall German lineup. The Weissel 1A2 is a rank 6 battle rating 9.0 ATGM carrier. It has a top speed of 80 kilometers per hour and a crew of 3, which gives it slightly more survivability. It has virtually no armor. Its main cannon is the BGM-71 TOW ATGM launcher with a 13-second reload time and 800 millimeters of pin. It does have the tandem warhead TOW 2A, plus it also has the top attack TOW 2B. The extra crewman will provide the 1A2 with some extra survivability, but don't expect it to last long once you're spotted. Don't be seen. The Ocelot is a rank 6 battle rating 9.0 SPAA that has a crew of 2 and a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour. It has virtually no armor, and it is armed with the Fliegerfaust 2 Stinger with a 19.5 second reload time. What's unusual about this one is it has the FIM-92K Stinger missile as the second upgraded Stinger missile, and in real life that missile has a data link capability allowing it to receive targeting information from other external sources, not just its built-in seeker. While the Ocelot itself does not bring anything new to the table in the current War Thunder meta, it does bring up the question of whether they're going to start providing the ability to data link between the different units on the battlefield so that you can have a radar system target an airborne target for you, and then you launch a Stinger that clears the trees and goes after it. I don't know, it might be interesting. It also lacks the anti-tank capabilities, so don't expect it to survive long. Russia is getting the 2S-25M Sprut SDM-1, and this is a light tank at battle rating 10.0, rank 7, and with a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour. Again, remember, some of these numbers are not final here, and I think this is one of them. It has a crew of 3, has just enough armor to shrug off maybe a little bit of heavy machine gun fire, but not a lot, especially not from the sides. The main cannon is a 125mm 2A75 with a 7.1 second reload time, and it can fire a 700mm penetration ATGM. If you like the previous Sprut SD, you're going to like this later variant, but the addition of a higher penetration APFS-DS round, which says around, I think it was 550 millimeters of penetration, is not going to change anything for your overall playstyle of this vehicle. The uprated battle rating may not pay off for you, even though it is a slightly better vehicle than its older brother. Great Britain is getting the new Istervark SPAA, which, to be honest, I'm butchering the name of. I'm certain Caterpillar and John Deere are probably going to be suing for royalties at this rate, though. It does have a battle rating of 4.3, and it does come in at rank 3. Supposedly fills a gap, but it doesn't actually provide anything to fill a gap, especially since the other SPA are just pretty much on this same BR. The Istervark has a top speed of 89 kilometers per hour and a crew of 3, has virtually no hull armor and absolutely no turret armor. It does have a 20mm GAI CO1 cannon with a 9.1 second reload time and 57 millimeters of penetration. It's basically just a tractor with an AA emplacement on the back. This could indicate further use of technicals in the future for War Thunder, but that's not going to help this battle tractor survive on the combat, the battlefields of War Thunder. It has just enough penetration to be annoying, so expect to be targeted by anyone and everyone due to your high profile. You're going to be easy to see. China is getting the ZLT-11, which is a rank 7, battle rating 9.3 light tank. It's got a top speed of 100 kilometers per hour and a crew of 4, which will help it survive a little bit longer, but its armor is nothing to write home about. The only thing it might be able to shrug off is some heavy machine gun fire from the front. All other arcs have virtually no armor. The main cannon is a 105mm ZPL-89A with a 9.7 second reload time. The overall feel on this one is that it does have that high penetration ATGM, but this HEVT shell indicates they're thinking it might be good against low-flying aircraft. And it better be, because with an 18-degree elevation, it's not going to be hitting anything at a high angle. That is for certain. You're not going to be able to track any target that flies overhead or up at all, so be judicious because you're going to attract attention if you're firing an aircraft and you don't have quite enough elevation. You'll have to be creative to use that thing. Over in Italy, if you like your Dardo, you can keep your Dardo, but with more DACA. The VCC 8030 is basically a Dardo with a 30mm Bushmaster chain gun attached. So let's take a look at it real fast. It's coming in as a light tank. It's at battle rating 10.0, rank 7. Has a top speed, it says, of 70 kilometers per hour and a crew of 3. The armor is a little more effective on this one, but it's not going to stop much. You're pretty much proof against most of the heavy machine gun fire, but none of the 20mm will be stopped by your armor. It does have a separate ATGM launcher, which is good. The Dardo itself does as well. This is going to be a fun one, and it is sporting a better gun and more effective, and the effective ATGMs, including the tandem warhead TOW 2A. While taller, it's not going to suffer for it. It's just going to be a fun one. It really is. Go backwards or go forwards. You're going to go everywhere you're going to go in the EBR 1951. This is the tech tree equivalent of the EBR 1954, which has managed to find its way all the way up to 6.0 in battle rating, probably due to its high mobility and really good cannon. This version's a little more tame. It's got a 75mm SA-49 cannon. And it's, at BR 4.3 and rank 3, this should be a good addition there. You're going to get M18-like maneuverability and performance with a decent gun. It will come with the M61 APCBC round, which should help it a ton in taking out other tanks. Overall, pretty good little critter. The penetration on that 75mm M61 shell is, in fact, 104 millimeters. That's plenty for that BR. You'll be able to do some good damage with it. And over in Sweden, you're getting a Stridsforden 9040B, a rank 6 battle rating 8.3 version of the already familiar 9040C. This puppy comes in at 8.3 BR and rank 6, and has a top speed of 70 kilometers per hour with a crew of 4. The armor, of course, is nothing to write home about. Even heavy machine guns will go pretty much straight through it. The main cannon is a 40mm Akon M70B with a 0.2 second reload time and 143 millimeters of penetration. That should be plenty against pretty much all the targets you'll be facing at battle rating 8.3. It's just an older version of the already familiar 9040C in the tech tree. This is going to basically be a lineup filler. It's going to be something to give them a little more fluff in the 8.3 area lineup. And moving on to the coastal fleet, the U.S. is getting the PT-174 motor torpedo boat at rank 2 battle rating 1.7. With a crew of 12 and a top speed of 7 to 8 kilometers per hour, this is a fairly traditional, patrol boat. It has only 40 millimeters of wood armor, with 15 millimeters on the superstructure. And the armaments include 4 569mm Mark 13 torpedoes, a 40mm Bofors L60 Mark III, a 20mm 70 caliber Oerlikon Mark II, and 2 heavy machine guns, the venerable Modus. It's a new premium coastal vehicle, but I'm not seeing a new tech tree vehicle that you'd want to research with it. There's not been at least one announced so far. This is a garden variety PT boat. It promises to be decent, but not a stellar addition. The U.S. is also getting the USS Mitcher, a destroyer at battle rating 4.3, rank 2. This puppy pulls in at 61 kilometers per hour and a crew of 350, which should give it a little bit more endurance than some of the other ships in this same BR rating. It does have 16 millimeters of steel armor on the hull and 4 millimeters on the superstructure. The armaments include the 4 533 Mark 35 torpedoes, 2 127mm 54 caliber Mark 18 cannons, 2 3-inch Mark 34 cannons, and 4 20mm 70 caliber Oerlikon Mark IIs. It's undergunned compared to other rank 2 U.S. vessels. It's one step BR lower. The other two are at 4.7, but you're losing quite a bit going from the 5-inch guns to the 3-inch guns for part of your armaments. The Mitcher looks to be kind of a lackluster addition to the U.S. naval tree, and It's got a somewhat wanting main battery compared to the other vehicles. Russia gets a new Coastal Fleet Edition at rank 4, battle rating 3.7. This is the MPK PR201M, the sub-chaser class. It has a crew of 28 and a top speed of 44 kilometers per hour. The main fire tower armor is 10 millimeters all around. It has 8 millimeters of garden variety steel on the hull and 4 millimeters on the superstructure. The armaments include 4 25mm 2M3 autocannons and 20 RBU 1200 mortars. This is the high fire rate 25mm cannons are pretty much what's going to make or break this vehicle. It does not have it's not particularly fast, it's not particularly well armored or heavily crewed. So get the first shot and lay down massive amounts of suppressive fire. Britain's floating in with a brand new battleship, the HMS Marlborough, coming in rank 5, battle rating 6.7. It's got a top speed of 35 kilometers per hour, about right for this particular vessel, and a crew of 1,180. The Citadel armor is 152 millimeters, 305 millimeters, and of course 25. The main fire tower armor is 279 millimeters all around. And the hull is 25 millimeters of steel, and the superstructure is 16 millimeters. The armaments include 20 21-inch Mark IV torpedoes, 10 13.5-inch 45 caliber Mark V-H cannons, 12 6-inch 45 caliber BL Mark 7s, and 2 4-inch 50 caliber BL Mark 7s. An additional 2 76mm 45 caliber QF 3-inch 20 CWT HA Mark I cannons as well. This is the top dog in the British battleship fleet, but this the real problem is going to be the lack of AA cover. This Iron Duke class battleship is going to be the top dog. I think it's going to deliver a pounding broadside with those 10 13.5-inch cannons pointed on target. And just make sure you stick close to your more AA-capable brethren. Italy is getting the RN Tigre, a rank 3, battle rating 4.7. This destroyer will come in at 54 kilometers per hour and a crew of only 206. The main fire tower armor is 12, 12, and 0. And the hull is 16 millimeters of steel, and the superstructure is 4 millimeters. It has 4 533mm SI-250 torpedoes, 8 120mm 45 caliber Kenneth Schneider Armstrong model 1918 through 19, and 2 76mm 40 caliber and Saldo models 1917 cannons, and 2 40mm 39 caliber Vickers Turney model 1915-1970 modification 1930 cannons. There's no new tech tree vehicles to be ground out with this vehicle, so I'm not really sure why it's coming as a premium. The Leon-class RN Tigre premium destroyer will field a huge broadside for its class at this BR, but with this tiny crew, it's not going to survive very long and may not reap the benefits of it. Vyborg Bay is a new naval map for coastal fleet vessels. It's really just a pretty traditional map, a bunch of islands around an indefensible section of water. Nothing else really to speak for to it. Just be prepared to deal with all the normal things you see on this type of map. It's not unusual or special, just another variant of a map. Bourbon Island is a fairly typical arcade map with, ground targets in the middle and, mountains and valleys and the normal things that come with unrealistic terrain on arcade maps. We expect this to be a fairly garden variety map as well, so I don't see any really groundbreaking changes here. Afghanistan and Vietnam's operation maps are now getting enduring confrontation mechanics added to them, so expect to see more of those in simulator battles as well. Now we're moving on to the noteworthy model characteristics, damage, and weaponry changes. I did kind of go through what was in the list, and I think I found the ones that are more interesting than some of the others. The HESH shells are getting a 4mm Fuze trigger now. It used to be it would trigger immediately upon impact at 0.1 meters, but with 0.1 millimeters, but at 4 millimeters, at least has a chance to penetrate partially and then explode. And that should make a pretty big difference when you're attacking either light vehicles or even some of the heavier stuff, and preventing it from actually ricocheting on some of these maybe heavier vehicles. The AV-8s and the Harriers are all getting their 30 millimeter Aden Mark IV gun ammo reduced from 200 rounds per gun to 130 rounds. This is a significant nerf, but it only in the sense of reducing the endurance of the Harriers. They're just going to have to return back to base a little bit earlier, and missiles still remain the primary air-to-air combat weaponry. The F4EJ Kai is getting the GBU-38 JDAM. These guided bombs should give it another option in ground pounding, really, just about it. Over in Naval, a few of the changes you got to keep in mind is they've now added the capability for fire to spread from a turret down through the elevators and passageways to the shell storage rooms. If it does so, it may catch fire, and if it does, it'll burn from between 30 and 45 seconds unless it is extinguished. And when it's extinguished, there is a possibility of doing so explosively, so you may go kablooey. On the plus side, internal fires will not spread if there are bulkheads or other structural elements between the compartments in question that prevent it from spreading. So that's a good change. And finally, torpedoes, sea mines, and depth charges will have a between 1 and 3% chance of detonating every second they're on fire. So don't let those stick around on fire either. One of the big interface changes, and this is an all positive one, there's detailed information about the score awarded now available in the replays. If you hover over your score, in theory, during the battle, if you can hit the, look at the statistics screen, you can actually hover over your score there, and it'll break down for you where all your points came from. In this case, capturing zones got me 521 points. Destroying other ground vehicles is 141. Critical damage, 227. And damage to the enemy, 80. Assistance in destroying the enemy, 358. Receiving damage, 60. And, of course, for dying, I got 90 points. For a total of 1,477 points in this match. So that's a really useful way to find out what you're actually making your score off of during your gameplay in War Thunder. So that's all positive. And now we move from the all pretty much good things to the ugly part of this particular update. And we're going into the economy and research changes portion. The differences in rewards for SL and RP for the destruction of ground vehicles of different classes has been removed. So kill a heavy tank or an SPAA, the SL and RP rewards are the same. It does not specify whether you're getting more or less for it, so I'm going with less overall. In addition to that, all newly obtained universal backup vehicles will now have a validation time to be activated. You can see right here that all of my wagers right here tell me they have 106 days for me to use them up. Otherwise, I lose them. And they're also stating that orders and wagers will have an expiration time to be used by, so you can't just activate it and then do a couple matches, come back, do a couple matches, a few days. It's going to expire. Now, I think on these ones that I've had from before this patch, it's going to be to have the same time frame as the expiration of the actual wager itself. But on new ones, you're going to have different numbers, different time frames, and it's going to be an issue there. So now, after all these years of stockpiling all these wagers and using them every once in a while when I have the time, this time I'm not going to be able to. I'm going to have to start using them and using them fast. You can see I've got 106 days to use up at least probably 500, 600, 700 of these wagers. And that's just on one page. And some more. Some of them are out to 134 days. And some of it are 106. I mean, here's some of the Golden Eagles wagers. You get 134 days on, it looks like. So this isn't all bad. Your universal backups are also going to have expirations on them as well. So they don't have them here, but it's in the cards that you won't be able to hold on to these forever. Again, all bad. This is not a good change, and I highly recommend that you get over there into the forums and express your displeasure over these wagers and orders and backups having expirations. That's just a sheer cash grab. There's no technical reason for it. There's no useful reason for it. It's just plain making those things go away so you can't use them anymore. Couple of additional items in the game mechanics sections. You'll no longer accrue points by just being close to an enemy, and you won't accrue points by being in line of sight of an enemy. So that's 2 more points where you can't, 2 more places where you won't be able to get more points. That's bad merely because there's a whole lot of things that rely on you being able to get a certain number of points in a match. And if you don't get those points, you don't get your wager or whatever done. On top of that, they have reworked some of the wagers to reduce the rewards for them and some of the requirements of stages. So I consider that a mixed bag, but you might want to look those over in the link below. So those could be bad, but they could also be all right, depending on how lucky you are with your wagers. Now on to the things that are purely questionable. These are ones that the way they're phrased means they could be okay or they could be bad. We don't know. So, first one, kill a lower BR vehicle. There's now an equation for how many points you're going to get for that. It reduces that by up to, I think it was, they have an equation that actually runs through it, and I'm not going to do the calculations right here on the screen. But basically it says, if you kill a lower BR vehicle, instead of getting a fixed number of points, you get that reward reduced by a quadratic equation. There's certain limits to it, but overall it looks like it's a reduction in those points. And this is also going to be, they state that it's not going to affect the SL and RP earnings. But last I checked, your point total had some relationship to your SL and RP. So are they being disingenuous, or are they divorcing points from SL and RP entirely? And if so, how are they actually determining SL and RP when you come out of a match? If they're entirely divorced, then the points don't matter. This is not Whose Line Is It Anyway, where everything's made up and the points don't matter. It's, everything's maybe made up, but it's not, it matters. These points do matter. On the other hand, the number of points you receive, now this is again not the SL and the RP, but the actual point scores that you receive no longer depends on the type of target when you kill something. So if you kill a heavy tank, kill a light tank, kill an SPA, they all get you a net 150 points. So that's with that flat number, and the back of napkin mathematics I've been doing, according to what I have right now for the example, you still end up making more points, even if you kill like a full BR lower vehicle, than you do now, over on average. If you're hit more heavy tanks than the other types, you'd still lose out. You're going to lose out 30 points per tank. And same thing, if you kill a lot more SPGs, you stand a pretty good chance of losing out there as well. So at certain BRs, that could be a very bad thing. And at others, it may be a non-issue. Or certain countries against other countries. For instance, 5.3 or 5.7 US versus Germany. Germany's got a lot of heavy tanks at that BR and a lot of SPGs. Whereas US is a lot of light tanks, a lot of medium tanks. So they'll be making points hand over fist over here, and you are going to be losing out on points for that same type of effort. Some additional mechanics for ground that are again questionable as to whether they're good or bad. When you die, you may now get up to 30% of the points awarded to the enemy for killing you. However, getting hit and damaged but surviving now earns you much less. It's from 30 points down to 5 points for ground vehicles, and from 5 points to 1 point for naval vehicles. That's a pretty big drop, and they're expecting this 30% reward to make up the difference. It literally becomes more profitable to die than to take hits and live. So where are we actually going here? It doesn't make sense, at least on the surface. Check out the way it's written. You may read it slightly differently, but my take is at best this is going to be a wash. And my bias tells me that it's going to be not a wash, but a negative, a net negative for the players. So I don't like a lot of these things on the end here. There's a lot of good things. There is the new bulldozer mechanics, which I went through in my live stream. I'll try and link to that timestamp. So you can take a look at it as well. The bulldozer mechanics are really interesting. You can do a lot of good things with it. You can plow up some land and create a little berm to shoot from behind. On certain situations, you may actually be able to, on the back end of a slope, plow uphill and create a situation where people can't get over the berm. So there's some real tactical possibilities with it, but it's also pretty hinky in how it works. So keep that in mind. But overall, that's everything in this dev server. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you appreciate this type of summary. You have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in War Thunder.